From your own personal experience, why do you think the commanders, the senior NCO leadership, why were they so hostile to these claims?
In my own experience in the Marine Corps, there were signs of hope along the way. When I was at the School of Infantry, it was actually the infantrymen on the enlisted side that were just as outraged as the victims of sexual harassment and assault were. However, on the officer side, there was definitely a sense of an old boys club, colonels protecting lieutenants, colonels protecting staff sergeants. Whether or not that has to do with an inclination to protect one's own career, looking out for a future star, or whether or not there's some sort of misguided attempt to protect a good man because you know his family and he's served for 20 years. I mean, you hear this language all the time. And officers, there are fewer of us, and you know, we spend time with one another, hanging out at the O Club. It is a completely different culture. That's why the Wilkerson case was even more egregious. I mean, you've got two pilots. There's this appearance of impropriety even without looking at the facts of the case. That's typical in every unit throughout the armed services.
One of the things that I really do stress is, it is about the leadership. The hostility isn't necessarily even towards women. The hostility is towards the feminine, the perception of being less than, and the perception of being weak. Even though I was the only female in my unit, I was not the only one that was targeted for abuse. We had 2 other males in my unit that were targeted regularly for sexual harassment and sexual abuse, that were, that went through a lot of the same stuff that I did. It was not a gender issue. It was we are targeting what we see as less than, and just by being a woman, I was automatically less than, even though I was just as good as they were. So the mindset, when you have that mentality, and then again you have the leadership that allows it to continue every day. I can't tell you a single day that I was in my unit that didn't go by without some type of rape joke, sex joke, sex play, simulated sex play between men. I mean, we had a sexual assault and harassment training that we went through, and one of our sergeants got up on the table and stripped completely naked and danced and laughed at it. I mean, that's the kind of culture that I lived in and on a daily basis. So when you deploy, you're stuck with these people in very small units in very small places, and why would I go to a chain of command that I knew was going to allow those things? So it's not just, it's not even a hostility towards women in general. That's the kind of culture that some of these units commanders allow to thrive. And when you have that type of culture, these issues are going to continue to be perpetuated.